I do want to try something before we get started here. Maybe to just test my Catholicism bona fides.
Okay.
Now, I have not been Catholic for, I think, conservatively, 22 years, right? Mm-hmm. But here we go. We're going to try this.
Okay.
We believe in one God, the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, of all things seen and unseen. We believe in one Lord Jesus Christ, the only Son of the Father, born of the Father, God from God, light from light, true God from true God, begotten, not made, one in being with the Father. Through him all things were made. For us men and for our salvation he came down from heaven, was born of the Virgin Mary, and became man. For our sake he was crucified under Pontius Pilate. He suffered, died, and was buried. On the third day he rose again in fulfillment of the Scriptures. He ascended into heaven and is seated at the right hand of the Father. He will come again in glory to judge the living and the dead, and his kingdom will have no end. We believe in the Holy Spirit, the Lord, the giver of life, who proceeds from the Father and the Son. With the Father and the Son he is worshipped and glorified, who has spoken through the prophets. I believe in one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. I confess one baptism for the forgiveness of sins, and await the resurrection of the dead and the life of the world to come. Amen. Bam! Bam!
All right, my turn. You
never learned it? Didn't you have to learn it for what is the last sacrament? Confirmation. There we go.
I don't know that they made us memorize it like explicitly, or that they tested us on it.
Wow. I definitely missed some words in there. Like, there were parts of it that felt really good, and there were parts of it that didn't feel good at all. So, but damn, the brain is a font of useless shit. Hello and welcome to Flanagan's Wake, a Doof Media podcast reading from the Holy Book of Mike. My name is Scott Daly, and joining me, as always, wearing a gold chasuble, even though it's ordinary time, it's Matt Freeman. How's it going today, Matt?
Is it ordinary time, Scott? That's the question that I'm going to be asking all of you here today.
Wow. He put the hands up. That's, it's shit just got real there. I feel like I've been properly talked down to.
That's right.
This week on the show, it is a new year and a new us, Matt. We have both converted to Catholicism, and we are turning this into a Catholic pod where we'll be dissecting and discussing the catechism of the Catholic Church 1 week at a time and explaining why everyone listening to this is a bunch of dirty sinners and you should all feel bad. Right? That's the show now.
That's right.
Matt, forgive me.
So that's kind of always been the show, really.
True, yeah. Forgive me, Matt, for I have sinned. It has been 30 years since my last confession.
Yeah.
When do you have to go through when do you have to go through your first confession? Because it's been since then that I've been confession.
I feel like I was probably 8.
That sounds about right.
So it's been 30 something years since my first and last confession.
You know what I confessed to in my first confession? Can I confess to you what I confessed to in my first confession?
You can.
I stole some micro machines off of my friend's driveway, and then when he asked me if I stole them, I said no, so I lied about it.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was it. That was my first and only confession. In fact, I distinctly remember telling the priest, well, mine has a bit of a story to it, and it's a little bit of a two-parter, which is a hilarious thing for an 8-year-old to say to a priest.
That's wonderful.
Just kidding, folks. This week on the show, we are taking a look at Mike Flanagan's Midnight Mass. This is our first episode covering his 7-episode series, Midnight Mass. We're going to be doing this in 8 episodes because, of course, we're going to be having our overview episode at the end. Matt, I am so very excited for this. It is a new year. It is a brand new show. We're recording this technically in 2025 still, but by the time everyone listens to it, it'll be the new year, and I'm just really pumped to get to talk about the show with you. I think we've both been waiting for this one since we started the show.
Yeah, I think I've said before that it was an easy sell for me to start this podcast with you because I had seen this show and thought it was incredible, just totally sucked into it, binged it as hard as possible, and am thrilled that we are finally here. Have been looking forward to it all this time. I know a lot of other people have too. So Let's do it.
Yeah. This week we're talking about Book 1, Genesis. And I think just to be clear here, folks, I want to set the stage a little bit, because if you're joining us for the first time, you might not know this if this is your first episode of ours. Typically, the way things work is I am the one that has seen the show or movie or book or whatever before, and Matt has not, and I'm kind of guiding him through it. Midnight Mass is a little bit of an exception because, as Matt mentioned, he's seen the show already. So this is going to be a little bit different from the way we normally do things. I think what we kind of collectively decided to do was, because a lot of people that listen to the show do it, just like watching an episode and then listening to the show, they kind of watch along with us. We didn't want to change up our whole thing too much. So this is going to be a no spoilers discussion of the show. We are only going to be talking about the episode that we are discussing this week. But we did think this was a pretty unique opportunity to also, in the moment as we're going through the show, talk about the stuff that we can see that the show is setting up to pay off later. You and I almost never get to do this, and so we thought it was a pretty unique ability to do that. So I think at the very end of the show, we are going to have like a full spoiler section where we are just going to spend a few minutes just talking about the show from the perspective of someone who has already seen it. So I think we'll get the best of both worlds there. We'll definitely clearly demarcate when we have moved on to that section. So if you are not a person who has seen all these episodes before, you can know when to stop listening. But how does that sound, Matt? Does that sound good?
Yeah, that lets us have our fun talking about what we know is going to happen, but also lets people watch the show along with us like they may be doing already.
Yep. All right. Let's get into Midnight Mass. So before we get started with the episode today, just a little bit of brief history with this one, Matt. This has been, for Mike Flanagan, probably one of his longest gestating projects. It was originally conceived as a novel, and then he thought of it maybe as a feature film, and of course eventually a television show. We actually, you probably remember this, but way back when we covered Hush, we saw Midnight Mass, the novel. In that story, it was the novel written by the main character, Maddie, played by Kate Siegel in that movie. They even actually have conversations, the two characters, about the characters of Riley and Aaron from Midnight Mass. So not only was it a long gestating idea, but he had some idea of the shape of what the story was pretty early on.
That's just such a fun idea.
Yeah.
Like that. To have this idea bouncing around and it being so compelling to you that you can't help yourself to insert it in other things, and it also, I don't know, it's just a fun metatextual thing where it's like it's fun to imagine that character was aware of this story, you know, and or that the character in Gerald's game was in the middle of this story when this event happened to her, or what have you.
Yeah, that's another good point, is that the book shows up again on the shelf that the character in Gerald's game is handcuffed to, the shelf that's above the bed that the character in Gerald, that Jesse is handcuffed to, which I think in Flanagan's mind was a fun Easter egg for himself, but also maybe like, I don't know, if you have this baby that you've been working on for a very long time and you've brought to companies and said, I want to make this movie or this television show, and they've all said no. Maybe you put something like that in your movie just as like a way of, in your mind, keeping it alive, keeping it going, manifesting it in a way. Like, I really want to make this. I want the opportunity to make this one day, and I'm just going to keep putting it in things until I finally get to make it.
Yeah. I think so. I think it's kind of like what Stephen King does too. I mean, with the inserting references to other things.
Yeah, definitely.
For the same reason, I think, where it's sort of cross marketing.
Yeah. And I think this is also one that Mike Flanagan has said is pretty deeply personal to him. I mean, like, I think all creators' creations are pretty personal to them. But I think when a creator is like upfront and talking about how personal the story is to him, in my mind, what that means is that like he consciously went into the writing and creation of this, knowing that this is stuff that I'm specifically talking about with myself. Obviously, we know he was raised in a Catholic family, but he is currently an atheist. He is not part of the Catholic Church. He also is many years sober at this point now. I can't remember what his number is right now, but he did have a problem with alcohol earlier on and got sober, and not a problem anymore. So I think the struggles that the Riley character goes through in this story are deeply personal to him as well. And And this is just like, it feels like this combination of I'm telling the story that's deeply personal to me, and I've been tinkering with the story and working on the story for years and years and years until I'm finally getting to make it now. It just elevates it in my mind in a way that like excites me about it, right? Like whether or not it's quote unquote the best thing he's ever done, it's a thing that it's very clear he's incredibly passionate about, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it may be the best thing he's ever done, but also yes, I mean it's got a lot of his soul in it, right? I think maybe you disagree, but I feel like when somebody says something is personal to them, they also mean that there is a lot of them in it. Or maybe another way of putting that is like there's a lot of stories from their own life and feelings from their own life that are real and grounded in their own experiences that they are essentially processing through the creation of this work of art.
For sure. Yeah.
Because that's not always true, right? I mean, some works of art are, to a greater or lesser degree, just like entertainment where you have put some of your perspective into it, but it's not like it's you struggling with something on the page. Whereas when somebody says something is a personal work of art, I that's how I see it. I see it as like you're using this as a sort of therapy for yourself.
Sure. And we will use it as an opportunity to psychoanalyze the absolute shit out of Mike Flanagan. I'm only halfway joking. I mean, obviously, like, look, like, we don't know Mike Flanagan, right? Like, we are just reflecting through his works of art. But I like, we like to do this sometimes, right? Like, it's not only about like what the person is saying or doing. It's like, but what does that mean personally to them? And of course there's also the reflection of what does it mean for us as well. But I think we like to do that sometimes. We'll try not to get too into like, well, Mike Flanagan clearly believes this, like we know what we're talking about. But it is going to be fun to see like, what do we think his struggles with religion were? Because I think you and I have talked throughout the show so far in the many ways in which Mike Flanagan has put religious characters in his creation so far and what they might be saying overall about his feelings on religion and his struggles with it. And we've kind of teed it up for this conversation to be like the one that we get to the bottom of it finally. And it's because I think that's one of the things that the show is ultimately really concerned about doing. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun to really dive into that stuff and maybe link it back to Ouija or to, I mean, gosh, the character from Absentia, right? All the way back a year ago. But I don't know. I'm just really looking forward to all of it.
Me too. Yeah.
All right, Matt. So this show originally was scheduled to begin filming in March of 2020.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it still turned out this good. It's kind of amazing.
I actually remember, I don't even remember who Mike was talking with, but I remember listening to an interview with him where they had built the sets. So this was filmed in Canada. The sets were done. It was ready to go. Everything was built. He was like touring the exterior locations and like in love with how awesome all of it looked and was so excited. And then COVID happened and they had to, and I maybe I'm just making this up, but I just remember this interview talking about like flying away and like looking at his set from a distance as he flew away, not knowing if this dream project was ever going to actually happen, if he would ever be back, if he would ever get to do this again. And fortunately he did, because they did come back in August of that year. They filmed from August through December, and I believe the show was ultimately finally released in September of 2021. But it made for an interesting production anyway, Matt, because they had all the COVID regulations that they had at the time. Everyone was in masks. There was all this kind of COVID protocol that required distancing and probably changed how some of the sets had to be, or some of the shots and scenes had to be composited, and it probably just like it made everything more complicated. It made everything harder. But it happened. It got finished. Thank goodness.
Do you happen to know if they used the same set that they had constructed? They just like came back to it?
They just came back to it, yeah. They just came back to it. And they were worried too. It was like it's not literally on an island. Like they didn't just have a set they built on this island in the middle of nowhere. But I mean, I think they had some repairs to do. I don't remember. Again, this is maybe just making stuff up in my head that I'm remembering from this vague interview, but like that actually that some of the time helped weather the set in a way that looked even better for them.
That's what I was going to say. Like maybe that just adds a little bit of extra veritas to the, because like that's one thing we're going to talk about in this conversation, and I might as well say it now, is like this is an amazing town.
Oh my God.
This is one of the great towns of the screen. And I feel like part of that is like, it seems like this real place. Like physically, you've got this grass growing up around the buildings. You've got the buildings look like actually like old weathered buildings that are there. I know I shouldn't be surprised, but part of me was even surprised when you said it was a set, because I was like, oh, they didn't just find an old village to film in. And it's like, no, of course not, you idiot. But like it looks so good. And then like obviously the people populating it just bring it over the top, but the physicality of it is fantastic.
That is, I think that's a great place to start, because I just agree with you. Like one of my favorite things in watching this episode again was just how incredible this place looks. That like everything's weathered and worn, the roofs are all rusted, the corrugated metal's all rusted, and like all the paint on all the houses is chipped, and it's because they live on an island in the ocean, and there's seawater everywhere and salt, and like and also the town is like hanging on by a thread, and so nobody has the money or time or inclination to ever like to fix up the things that break, because it's just like you feel like the wood is going to get pounded so much that just repainting it serves no purpose. It's just going to get rusted again. It's just going to get weather worn again. There's no purpose to it. And it creates like this episode is phenomenal. First of all, it's an hour-long pilot that has to introduce us to a whole place, a whole huge cast of characters, and get us to understand and feel this place and have it feel real, as you said. And just like the brief moments we get of just like touring it as we're following people through it, you're so right. Make it feel real. Make it feel like the geography. We don't even really see the geography, but we feel like we understand the geography of it.
Yeah. Also, I will just say, like, it feels it's very beautiful, even in its dilapidation. There's something kind of American Gothic about it. And I wanted to say, in particular, like, we just did 2 consecutive seasons of shows that were almost entirely inside of houses. Maybe a slight exaggeration, but not a lot of outdoor shots. Not a ton of outdoor shots. The outdoor shots that we got tended to be at nighttime, or they tended to be sort of close in. Whereas a lot of the shots, like, I know we're already hitting this out of order, but like the scene when the kids are riding their bikes through the town and we're kind of being introduced to the town, we get this sense of spaciousness and the beauty, just the beauty of the town, the beauty of the sky. Even I mean, I remember this one shot from the episode where the Riley's dad and Riley's brother are preparing the fishing boat to launch. It's a very, very brief scene, and you just kind of see this fantastic sunrise with the red sky, and they comment on red sky in the morning, sailors warning. And it's just like, the show is really like reveling in the visual beauty of things in a different way than I can remember in the previous stuff we've talked about.
I think you're right. And I think this is really important to what the show ultimately wants to do, because I think we need to show this place as dilapidated, run down. We need to show these people as barely hanging on. Like, I think one thing Riley's mother says later in the show is that this isn't a community anymore. It's a ghost, right? And we need to see that part of it. But I think we also need to understand why people stay. And part of it is because they feel trapped. But there is a quaint charm and beauty to it that I think I relate with. Like, it's this kind of like very specific, beautiful place. Like it's a community that you kind of want to feel part of in a weird way. Like, I just love the detail that the sheriff's office is in the middle of the general store, because of course it is. We have one store, we have one sheriff's, and that's it. I think there is a quaint kind of loveliness of it. And I think you're right. Like, I mean, just geographically, you're right. It's beautiful. I actually don't know. I tried to look this up, and I did not get a clear answer where Crockett Island is located, because I was convinced it was in like New England, like the Northeast. But then I saw some other reports that said, oh, maybe it's like off the coast of Washington somewhere. It's actually in the Northwest. And it doesn't seem, I think the show never specifically tells us, but I like that it could be anywhere.
Yeah, I guess I assumed it was the Northeast simply because they talk about Aaron going to
New York.
Yeah. And I was like, well, that's right there, but that's kind of a leap, actually.
But she also joined a band in Austin, so who knows?
She did. So she went all over the place. Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah. The definitely I just wanted to remark on the visual side of things. Very, very beautifully shot, a lot of focus on that beauty. I think, like you were saying, there is a romanticism to the humble, rustic lifestyle that we all respond to, even if, after we actually think about it for 5 seconds and imagine what that would be like. We're like, no, I like my life the way it is. I don't actually want to live in a shack on an island, but there's something, again, appealing about it on some romantic, evocative
Sure,
level.
and I think the show wants you to feel that for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, so we didn't say this. Let's just say it here at the front. Like this episode and all episodes were written, directed, and edited by Mike Flanagan. He is back in the director's chair for this one, for all of them. As he said, this was uniquely personal to him, and I think he broke his word to himself that he wasn't going to direct an entire show, and he's here to do it again. It also sees the return of director of photography Michael Famignari, who did not work on Bly Manor at all, but is back here for this. And we see Famignari's influence 5 minutes into the show, Matt, when Mike Flanagan's camera turns 90 degrees as Riley lays down in his cot, where I literally wrote in my notes, we are so back with Famignari and Flanagan again doing their 90-degree camera turn that I love so much. But no, this is such a strongly directed episode. There's shots in this episode that I really, really want to break down and talk to you about, because I was just fascinated by it, to the point where I stood up while I was watching this with my wife and I paused it and I said, look at this. Look at what's happening here. And she looked at me like I was crazy. And I was like, what do you think this means? This cut between these two, that's weird. That's weird. Why is he cutting like that? What do you think it means? And she's like, I don't know, Scott. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, so it's funny that we're starting very meta in this conversation,
Sure.
but I'm also not surprised, because that was one thing that jumped out to me watching this episode, is how precise and clockwork everything is. Like you just pointed out, the cuts between scenes will almost always, I think, be meaningful. And there will often be some object centered. We cut to something and there's some symbol or something centered in the middle of the shot. And which is actually how the show opens. And then just the rapid fireness of it, of the dialogue. There's always there's sort of a rolling narrative that morphs and changes from scene to scene, you could say, where we're following. I don't know quite how to express this yet. I think I'll figure it out eventually. But it's there's a coherence and tightness to everything that is really next level. I mean, top tier television writing all time, right? In terms of just the dialogue writing and the structure, right?
Well, the sheer number of characters we have to introduce in this episode alone is staggering.
Mm-hmm.
The challenge of that is how do you tell a story in one episode while also needing to hit every beat of we have to establish this person, this person, this person, this person. We need to understand enough about them to propel the scenes going forward. And there's so many of them. This is, and yet at the end of the episode, you're like, I know all these people. I understand all these people. I'm there with you right away. It's just economy of storytelling and a tightness, as you said. The story almost has to be tight. It has to be managed that tightly, because there's no room. It's we've got so many things to do in this hour of TV that we have to manage it that tightly. And every scene, this is true in anything, but every scene matters. Every scene is important. Every scene is doing 6 things at the same time. And man, I'm just it is kind of awe-inspiring. It is fun to just remember liking the show and watching the show and then going in and really studying it for the first time and being like, oh man, no, like this is clockwork. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, for example, you just pointed out the introduction of the characters. There's no point where we're like, huh, who's this guy? Because we've sort of, we started out following Riley, and then sort of in a chain that kind of winds through the story, we're sort of subtly introduced to the next person, and then we kind of follow them. And so, and then it gets back to Riley by the end. So it's, and this is not done in a way that really draws attention to itself, but you just find like, wow, I know like 15 characters and how they all relate to each other now.
Yeah.
And I don't really feel like I have been, thrown into a bunch of character introductions, because it didn't feel like that at the time.
Yeah, and I think that the show operates on archetypes enough to like to shortcut some characters. Like I'm thinking of Sheriff Hassan, right? Our sheriff played by Raul Coley. We don't know much about him yet, but we meet him in this episode, and we get a little bit of characterization in him, and we see how he handles Joe Colley, the town drunk, and then we see how the town treats him, right? And so we have in kind of our memory bank of who characters are is like, oh, this is the Muslim sheriff in a Catholic town that is kind of not directly ostracized, but not treated very well by basically everyone. Like, we see 3 characters give racist remarks about him, like in rapid succession. Like we see Joe call him Sharif instead of Sheriff. We see Bev Keane, who we're gonna have so much to talk about Beverly Keane, but we see her call him like Omar Sharif or whatever. And then of course we see Uker.
What did you do to me, Sharif? Sheriff.
It's a hell of a name. Say, oh, did you invite Aladdin? For his son. So yeah, I mean, we see immediately the way this town treats them, and then we're going to learn more about Sheriff Hassan as we go throughout the show, but we can file him away as like, oh, this is the Muslim sheriff that is not very well treated. And it also introduces a mystery of like, why would this guy come here? He's new, right? We get established that he's new here, and so we automatically have the question in our mind that helps us frame who he is as a character of like, why would this guy be here? It seems like this place of all places would not be the place that he would want to show up at. So I think it's just like, yeah, economy of storytelling here, just like off the charts.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think one place that I would like to start with you is that beginning. You mentioned the thing that frames the very center of the frame in the very first seconds of the story is the Catholic fish bumper ornament on Riley's car as it reflects the blue and the red of the police lights, as is just such a powerful way of opening this story. Like I remember being a kid, and those, like, I feel like the 90s, those things spread like wildfire, and like everyone who was Catholic had one of those. I actually very specifically remember my older sister, when she had a falling out with Catholicism, bought a decal for her car that was the Catholic fish, but it had legs on it, and it said "Evolve" in the middle of it as like a kind of incredible fuck you to my parents that I can't, like, I was like, whoa, like, damn, props for having the guts to do that.
Bold.
Yeah, definitely bold. She said someone stole it, and I still wonder if that was my parents that just finally ripped it off the car because they had enough.
That does seem plausible, yeah.
But like isn't that such a perfect visual statement to start your show with? Is like this open up on this image of Catholicism reflecting the lights of the police cars that are there because Riley has just killed someone. Riley has just, in a drunk driving incident, crashed into a teenage girl, and killed her. Wow. What an opening statement. What an opening salvo.
Yeah. We're not going to spoil again, but I want to posit the idea that most of the stuff that you love has the property where the opening scene is a microcosm for the whole story.
Yes.
So, again, not spoiling, but like we have the elements of this man who is acting, it's his car that has the Catholic fish on it. He is acting under the auspices of a religious man, you could say, right? He identifies himself that way. he has made a terrible mistake due to his own personality flaws, character flaws, which have led to the death of an innocent person. And he's sitting there praying to God for some kind of grace, some kind of, let this not be true. Forgive me. Who knows what he's praying for? I don't even think he knows what he's praying for in that moment. He's just praying because he's desperate and he's reaching out. And the medic says to him, I don't have the quote. I think you have the quote, right?
He says, while you're at it, ask him why he always takes the kids while the drunk fucks walk away with scratches.
Which is kind of the, theodicy problem of evil type thing that we talk about a lot. It's not like exactly the same, but it's adjacent to it, right? It's the question of why do good things happen to bad people and bad things happen to good people? Why is the world unfair? Where is God in all of this? It sure doesn't seem like he is manifesting himself.
It's the ultimate question, and it's the question that I think every person not of faith has at least thought about at one point in their life because they can't get over it. Like it's just like it's the ultimate question that a lot of people just can't get over, and completely understandably is like, that doesn't make any sense. That it does. If you have an all-powerful being who created everything and controls everything, why? And there's no answer to that question. Even people of faith will like blithely give you a line, but I don't even know if they fully believe the line that they're giving you. It's like, oh, God has a plan for everything. It's like, nah.
Yeah, I think that's the nature of faith is probably what some of them would say. Is it's like, look, if I knew the answer, it wouldn't require faith. And that's something the show is going to struggle with.
Yes.
Like that's the crux of the show. That's why we open with it. It's a theme that continues forward. That's why we're emphasizing it right now.
I do want to say though, I like what you said about Riley praying. I think one thing that is really interesting to me is that what is the prayer that Riley is saying in that moment? Is he speaking to God? Is he saying, God, please forgive me, please help me? Like, no, he's just reciting the Our Father. And I think this is like, I kind of blithely recited the Nicene Creed to you before we started recording. Like, this is kind of one of the, I will politely say, problems of Catholicism is it is so formalized and prescriptive that, like, in his mind, his calling out to God is reciting a thing that he said thousands of times before, that the words have essentially lost all meaning. It's no longer a conversation. It's just like, this is what you do. You do something bad. You say 10 Our Fathers, 12, what is
Glory Bees?
Yeah, thank you. And then you'll be forgiven. And it's like, there's no communion and connection in there. There's no personalization. There's no actual, like, forgive me. Like, it's just he's just saying the words. He's just saying the words. I
didn't really think of that, but I agree. It's hollow. And he, like, this is what we see happen to him over the course of this episode. We do a time skip and we see he has lost his faith because the hollowness of his relationship with Catholicism has been revealed to him, where it's like, hey, this didn't bring me any comfort. I don't feel forgiven. In fact, I'm racked with guilt.
Yeah.
Probably like one of the several things in this one episode that made me like totally fall in love with the show is, I mean, I know we both wanted to talk about this anyway. The fact that he gets into the prison, first of all, he's convicted and sentenced, and he's just like, cool, because like in his mind, no sentence could be too harsh, right? He feels the guilt, which kind of makes us like him, despite the fact that he's a drunk driver who killed someone.
I'm so glad you said that, because that is one of the gambles that the show takes. Is like, hello, welcome to my show. In the first 5 minutes, I'm going to make the main character murder a young girl. Now like him, please. and the show ultimately doesn't want you to hate Riley, right? I don't think it wants you to. So it is a gamble that I'm going to start the show off with this horrible event, and then I'm going to make you like this kid, and you're going to like him. And of course you are.
Yeah, I think everyone can relate to some degree with having the feelings of guilt about something that they cannot undo, right? That's the way in which it relates to us, and we see that he takes the guilt onto himself, His religion can't help him. He feels this guilt so acutely that he seeks out some kind of absolution from all these other religions. He talks about this with Aaron. It's like, why learn about Hinduism and Jainism and Islam? Not because he's like academically curious. He's desperate for some kind of answer to these questions. So the problem of evil question, the and just the practical, like I'm going crazy feeling this bad and being unable to forgive himself, right? Yeah. So okay, I was getting around toward the fact that we see him lie down in the bed and we see the flashing lights and the rather startling cut to her dead, staring at him, haunting him. And like, that's a great shot. That's a great moment.
That's our 90-degree turn shot, which, but by the way, I love the I love it so much, Matt. It's so we do the 90-degree turn, and then so Riley is technically up and down in frame, right? And then we cut to the girl haunting him. She's still standing up, but from his perspective, she's sideways. So in the frame, she's left to the right, feet to head, sideways, which is such a fascinating shot because the camera turned for him. Like the camera pivots for him, but she's not pivoted. We're still seeing her from the perspective of what she would look like when he's laying down on the bed. Like, I literally like got out Microsoft Paint and was like mapping this all out in my just so I could make sure I understood it in my head. But I love the shit out of the shot.
Yeah, right, because we're in his perspective. We're identified with him. That's the key there. And then, of course, what I love the most is later in the episode when he gets to his house, which is years later.
4 years,
like, what, 4 years later, he gets back to his house, lies in bed again, and the lights come up. And in that moment, I feel like that was the moment when I like got chills and like fell in love with the show. The lights come up because you know exactly what's going to happen. He's going to see her again, and that makes you realize this is his life. Yeah. This is every night for him. And the thing about, like, I don't think he literally is seeing the revenant of the dead girl and the flashing lights. It's a metaphor for she's always on his mind. Whenever there's a quiet moment, he's remembering this thing and he's tormenting himself with it, right?
Yeah. And this is something that religion, I mean, even we'll say Christianity and Catholicism is supposed to help you with, right? Like, this is the thing. This is the thing about Christianity and Catholicism more specifically. The idea that God has an unquenchable well of forgiveness, right? That like, it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how bad it is. None of it matters. He loves you and he will forgive you. If you repent, if you mean it, he will forgive you, right? That's what it's supposed to be. And that does nothing for Riley. That doesn't, like, you can say it all you want. You can say it, yeah, God forgives you. Do you repent for the thing you did? Are you sorry for it? Do you feel bad about it? Yes. Riley has shown, yes, right? Yes. But like, the idea that, okay, well then God has forgiven you. Okay. Your sin has been forgiven. Your sin has been washed clean. The new covenant, Jesus Christ came, he died for us, and he has taken your sin away from you. You are not, like, okay, that doesn't get me through the day, actually. That doesn't stop this woman from appearing in front of my eyes. And so it is a complete failure for the belief of God in Riley's perspective to do anything for him.
Yeah. I think that's kind of what fascinates me about this is I still have a tremendous aesthetic appreciation for Christianity and Catholicism. And particularly the element that you're talking about, this idea of forgiveness as being this crucial idea, and like this kind of like selfless love and forgiveness. It's just like, wow, what a fantastic thing to base a religion on. If all of my like critiques of Catholicism and Christianity really just round out to insufficiently embodying the tenets that they claim to espouse, right?
Yep.
Like, they're fantastic tenets, though, right?
Yeah, this Jesus dude, man, he's a pretty cool guy. Like, he said some pretty cool stuff, right? Yeah, right. It's just, I wish the people that followed him believed or acted like that, Yeah.
Exactly. But I think that this is a really interesting critique that kind of the show is making via Riley, is like, it's not magic. It can't magically, like, it can't make you forgive yourself.
Yeah.
If you if you don't forgive yourself, if you think the thing that you did is too horrible, it's just too horrible, and this girl is dead, and she's dead because of me. There's no, like, I don't care. On some level, it's like, even if you believe in Jesus, why should it matter to me that he forgives me? You know, I don't know. It's a really kind of confrontational and kind of novel feeling critique.
Yeah, and the same question that the paramedic asked him, and the same question that was on the signs of the women that sat in the courtroom that were mourning the loss of the girl. Why did the drunk driver get to live while the little girl gets to die? Is the same question he's asking himself. We see that with his conversation with Aaron later, right? He says, I should be dead. I should be dead. She should not be dead. I should be dead. Why am I still here? And there is no, I mean, like, it is so trite and unhelpful for a person to be like, well, God has a plan. God has a plan for you. If you're here, it's for a reason. And it's like, that doesn't help. That doesn't help me. That doesn't help me at night when I lay down on my bed. That does nothing for me. Yeah, and that's where the religion has failed him.
Yeah,
and I'm sure people that fully believe in that religion would say, well, no, it's he is not listening, and I mean there's some interesting things here. Like, we're talking about this as if we know exactly what the show is ultimately doing, because we do, but like there's interesting moments here where Riley has, you know, a conversation with Father Paul later in the episode where he basically tells the story of, like, I think he notices that Riley sits back from communion, and Riley says is like, I can't remember exactly what he says.
Not exactly in a state of grace.
Something to the effect of, like, I'm not exactly in a state of grace. I think that's what he says. I'm not exactly in a state of grace right now. And Father Paul is like, oh yeah, well, you know, that's the type of people that Jesus really liked. That's the type of people that, like, people that were not in a state of grace is like the people that he went for, and the people that he wanted to surround himself with, and the people that he wanted to talk to. I mean, even the idea of the parable of the prodigal son, which is referenced multiple times in the story, is a story of the honored sinner that returns to the flock, right? Like, it's for those that don't know, like, sometimes I think that has become so ubiquitous in culture, we don't actually know the story anymore. We just know that prodigal son means someone that has squandered wealth returning home. But basically the parable is, this kid asks his dad for his portion of his inheritance. He goes off, he wastes the money. He, like, is wiped out by poor choices and also by famine. He ends up getting a job working feeding pigs, which was like the lowest of the low job you could get. And he basically says, I fucked up. I got to go home and tell my dad I'm sorry. And he returns home. His father embraces him and throws a big feast for his return, and is like, I'm so glad you're back. Let's kill the fatted calf and throw this great feast. And the younger son, who was there the whole time, is like, hey, Dad, what the fuck? I've been here the whole time. And the point of the parable is that like Christ and God wants to pull people back into the fold. The people that are already in the fold, you've been receiving the glory of God the whole time. Like, that's kind of what the father tells to his youngest son, is like, you've been with me the entire time, and therefore you've had my money and my providence, and every part of what I had, you've had the whole time. We're throwing a feast for someone who hasn't had that, has now come back into it. So like that's like the whole thing. And I actually like that moment of Father Paul when he's like, no, I can work with that. And it's this moment of, oh, maybe this is a story about a man finding a way back to grace, right? And it sort of is, not in the way that we expect, and certainly not via Paul, which we'll talk about.
It's very subtle, right? This is going to be an evolving conversation.
Yes.
We're sort of signposting. So maybe we can pivot to talking about the Father Paul, because
sure,
you know, I think I can say safely, in a spoiler-free context, that the show is being mysterious about him, right? Like the way he's shot, the way he's introduced, it's like the camera is either shooting him from a distance, or shooting him from behind, or shooting him from above. It's almost like it's like playing coy with, like, who is this guy? Who is this priest? He's not. I thought it was supposed to be a different guy.
Yeah.
What's he doing here? And then he, you know, obviously he brings this mysterious chest, and he drags it into his room, and then he pats on it, and then you hear boom, boom, and it's like, okay, something's mysterious with the priest.
I'm
okay.
trying really hard to remember what I thought was in the chest the first time I watched the show, and I just cannot, for the life of me, remember.
I mean, I think I do, but let's just wait to talk about that some other time. Point being, he's a weird. His introduction is great because we don't know how to feel about him, right? And then he comes up to the front of the church, and he's not told anyone. Like, no one knows that it's him. Like, that it's going to be this guy. It's like everyone is shocked. Everyone is totally taken off guard. But then he does a good mass. I love, like, the altar boys just kind of like staring at him with this almost like hypnotized look. Like, perhaps I'm projecting. Tell me if you agree with my reading here, but it's almost like they're like, oh wow, he's like doing a really good job.
He's competent.
At this mass.
Yeah, he's competent
he's
in
competent.
his job. Yeah.
He's like invested. He's like doing it with intention rather than just kind of perfunctorily saying the words.
Yes.
And
100%.
And then he says that thing to Riley, and you're like, yeah, this guy seems hip. He seems cool. He seems like one of those priests who's human and grounded, and not like those priests that, there's a certain generation of priests that I think you and I are probably both familiar with, despite not knowing any of the same priests, where they're just like, I am the priest. I am basically God, and you are allowed to talk to me if you must. Yeah. But
I hate those guys. I really do. We talked last week how I had a priest that, left the church because he fell in love with a woman and was I think you would call him progressive for the Catholic Church for sure. Mm-hmm. I actually, one big regret is that, like, when I was young, I didn't understand that. I didn't appreciate it. And so, like, all I thought about his homilies were, please stop talking, I'm bored, I want to leave church now, instead of, like, actually listening. And I bet I would have found what he had to say and his interpretations of this stuff pretty fascinating, but I was too young and I just didn't pay attention to it.
I don't know, I've probably mentioned this some other time, but I got practically nothing out of the homilies when I was a kid. But when I was in college and I was a freshman, I would go to church every Sunday, because I was desperately trying to find something I could hold on to. and the priest in our college town, first of all, it was kind of amazing because the church was completely packed, like every mass, because it was a pretty small church and there's a lot of students at that school. Mm-hmm. And he would give very, very relevant homilies. Like, he would take whatever the scripture was, and he would, it didn't feel like he was sort of being the hip, cool pastor trying to talk about, sleeping around or whatever. It's like it was like the struggles, the spiritual struggle of just like life, and he would package it in a way that felt digestible to 18-year-old me, and that was like the most I ever got out of church. It was unfortunate that my ability to believe in all that stuff was asymptotically going towards zero. But,
sure. I mean, that's one thing that I think is so fascinating about this whole thing, is that it almost, like, from my perspective, I just like listening to people talk about the things that they believe in and how they use those things to get through the struggles of mundane life. And so, like, even not, like, if you believe in any of this stuff or not, I still find it's fascinating. It was like, this guy, I read this book and it happens to be the Bible, and in it this guy said this thing, and here's how I'm applying it to my life to get through today. It's like, oh wow, that's really interesting. I enjoy that.
Yeah, so I mentioned my story about college priest that I knew, or that I went to the services of, because that's kind of who Father Paul reminds me of, where it's like he's not trying to be hip because he wants you to like him. He just has a, like, living relationship with the religion.
Yeah. And that has good parts of it. And I think as we'll see, some bad parts as well. I mean, I think you're so right that one thing I think the show does very, very well is it primes us to feel weird about this guy in ways that you can't quite put your fingers on yet. I think the scene where the scene where we first see him. So I didn't even notice, like, when Warren, Riley's little brother, goes to the marina to get drugs, we actually see, I didn't notice this the first time I watched it, we see Father Paul there. That's when he's dragging the chest off the boat. That's when he arrives. But we don't, like, the camera pays basically no mind to him because Warren doesn't know who he is. We don't know who he is yet. We have no reason to even like lock in on that moment whatsoever. So the first time we really see him is when he's dragging the big trunk into the rectory, the priest's house, essentially. And the way Flanagan shoots the shot, Matt, as you said, he shoots it from above, which is such a really interesting choice. And he shoots it from above, and we see the rectory is this very kind of geometric shape, right? It's divided into 4 quadrants almost, because there are these 2 rugs in the lower right or lower left and upper right quadrants, one around under a table, the other under a couch. And it's just a very geometric, very straight line, very simply decorated. And he drags this chest through the middle of it, and the chest crumples up the carpet as it goes. And then when he gets the chest to its final resting spot, it's diagonal. It's like it doesn't fit neatly into one of the quadrants that the room has created. It's like sitting there catty corner almost. And it just both that we're shooting this from above and that chest is this presence in the room that kind of ruins the feng shui of the room, if we want to call it that. It calls attention to it, and it makes you a little uneasy. It makes you a little uncomfortable. It's like you're calling attention to this thing. I don't really understand what it is yet or what it means yet. And then, of course, the knocking on the chest helps with the sinisterness of it. But it's just a really fantastic way of making you go, I don't know. And then, and you're right. And then the almost contradiction when we see him at Mass, when he is, I don't know. Yeah. Like, I think the cool priest is maybe the best wording for it. But yeah, like,
But not in a way where he's like bending over backwards to be likable, because he has not, I wouldn't call it confrontational interactions with Bev, but they're not warm either.
Yeah.
He's kind of very much holding her at a distance with his demeanor. And
yeah.
Which again kind of makes us like him, actually, because we don't like her at all.
Yeah, because the show does a really fantastic job of making us hate Bev Keane so much so quickly, like almost from the first scene. So the first moment we actually get to see Bev Keane is when she's going to the marina looking for Monsignor. Oh gosh, what's his last? Pruitt, right? Pruitt. Yeah, I forgot his name. She's there looking for him, and she has this quip with the guy at the marina, or this quick conversation where she's just kind of nasty to him for no reason, and that like is her throughout everything. Then she's nasty to the dog for no reason, and then we see her at the planning for the storm session where she's nasty to Sheriff Hassan for no reason. Nasty in like that perfect Christian kind of way. That's just like, you're of course always welcome. You're always welcome at the church, or are you going to take a ship to a mosque on the mainland? But of course you'll always be welcome. It's just like, fuck you. Like, yeah, she's the worst. Samantha Sloyan just knocks this out of the park. Like she's going to play Carrie's mother in the Carrie show coming out this year, and that's just perfect, absolutely perfect casting. So yeah, you're right. We're already primed to not like her. And then, I really love that scene where she walks into the rectory thinking that the Monsignor is back because she sees the smoke in the smokestack and is like, oh, he must have come home and he's back. And the way she walks in and immediately like she owns the place, she starts picking up, she's talking and gossiping, is like, oh, wait till you hear what the sheriff said, where he wants to move the storm safety area to the school. And she's in this comfortable, like, I can be shitty with this person because I'm in control of the situation. And the things we learn about Monsignor Pruitt is kind of like he's barely there anymore. And so people have been basically like walking him through the service. And I think Bev is very much used to being actually the person in charge of the church and in charge of the mass. And yeah, he comes in and he's like, no, this is mine. I'm going to do this.
Yeah. So there's confrontation, right? There's the small little delightful fight over the vestments where it's she's making a little power move by pointing out like, hey, you made a mistake. You're not hot shit actually because you wore the wrong color clothes.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's not that important. I couldn't find it. My bad.
I wonder how much some of the specificity of this stuff works on people who have no knowledge of Catholicism whatsoever, because like this is stuff that you and I know about, right? Like the idea of ordinary time is a thing that maybe people don't know about. Like that the Catholic calendar is divided into sections, right? And I believe there's Lent, there's Easter, there's Advent, there's Christmas time, and then in between all those times there's just like ordinary time, which is just what it sounds like. There's nothing big happening on for the church, so we call it ordinary time. And there's a dress code amongst the priests for that time, and
there's also different like little rituals and things that are said and so forth during the different periods of time, which would always catch me off guard because I would never pay attention to like what was going on, and then suddenly it's like, oh, we're all saying a new thing now. I didn't get this memo anyway. No, I mean, like, again, it's very prescribed. Everything in a mass is like, this is what you're doing. You do 2 readings from the Old Testament, then you do a reading from the Gospel. You rotate which of the apostles that you do the reading of every year, right? There's 4, and it rotates through the books every year. And then, like on certain days, you're going to read this gospel and you're going to read this gospel. And it's like, that's all prescribed. All the words you say, the Eucharist, like all these things, it's the same every time. And that's what it is. And so, there's also a dress code. During Advent, you wear purple. You don't wear purple during ordinary time. You wear green during, or sometimes white. Sometimes white, you can wear green during ordinary time. On Palm Sunday, you wear red. Gold. The gold that he's wearing is for special occasions, special occasions. It's not right, says Bev. But who the fuck cares, man? Yeah, and who is she to say that it's not a special occasion?
So I guess did you? I see. I can't ask you the questions I normally ask, which is like, did you buy his excuse? But like his excuse is basically like, I couldn't find the green ones, so I put on whatever, and
Until you asked me to actually think about it for 2 seconds, yes, I was just like, he is annoyed that she is bothering him with this, and maybe he's like distracted. And also, okay, so part of it is like, I think maybe the first time I saw the show, this was a long time ago, but I think maybe I had the thought like, is this guy really a priest? Because like he does a really good mass, but he makes a mistake. So you're like, so if he was really a priest, then he wouldn't make this mistake. But it's like, no, it's not that he's made a mistake. It's that he either doesn't actually think this is that important, or he thinks this is actually a special occasion.
Yeah, I mean, another point of evidence for that is we see that Riley's parents walk up to him at the end of Mass and are like, hey, it was really nice. I was surprised to hear the old translation again. We haven't heard that in about 10 years. And essentially, for people that don't know, in like 2011, I think this was, I didn't even know this. I had to look it up because I had already left the Catholic Church by this point. But in 2011, they basically redid all the missals, not like fly through the sky missile, but like the book that says what prayers they're supposed to do. They redid all those in like 2011, and they went to a translation that was closer to the original Latin. So the things that you and I heard during the Eucharistic prayer are not the things that are said in the Catholic Church anymore. They sound a little bit more old-fashioned because they're trying to sound a little bit more Latin-y. But when he was doing the Eucharist, when he was talking about the body of Christ, the blood of Christ, he was doing the one that you and I heard when we were in school. It was the older one. It was the post-Vatican II translations.
It's funny because it sounded exactly correct to me.
Yeah.
So when they were saying that it was wrong, I was like, what was wrong? What did I miss? Yeah. So thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, but so I think to your point, though, that's the second mistake, right? He makes a mistake. He's wearing the wrong chasuble, and then he's saying an old translation of the Eucharist. The Eucharistic prayer. And so, I mean, what one interpretation of that is just take him straight forward, that he thought, it's like, I don't really like the new one. It feels old fashioned. I don't want to do that. The other one is that, maybe he's making mistakes because he doesn't know what we're supposed to do in these times.
But it definitely makes you uncomfortable.
Yep.
I keep mentally returning. You pointed out the rug where he pulls the chest and it messes up the rug. And I love that detail because it's like, I was thinking about this. I was like, why does that stick out to me so much that he kind of like negligently disrupts the order of the rug with the chest? And I was like, I think it's just that I feel like if I were dragging a suitcase and I was dragging it against the floor like that, I would carefully not mess up the rugs.
Or I would fix it after I did it, right? Yeah.
Or I would fix it after I did it. And the only thing that would make me not do that is if I was like really distracted or like thinking about something really intensely, and my priority is just not the rug.
Yeah.
It's just not on my mind, right? I'm preoccupied with something.
Yeah.
And that gives you this sense of this intensity about him. And I think Hamish Linklater is playing him as just like he's like very intense, but he's also like very possessed at the same time.
Yeah, no, he's phenomenal. And I mean, again, I think we'll talk about this more in the spoiler section at the end of it, but like the fact that he's having to play a lot of things at the same time, I think it's pretty fascinating how he's managing to do this. Like,
yeah,
he's being straightforwardly like I just love him. Like, this is something they do in Catholic Mass that you don't know. The priest sits by the door, and as you walk out, you say hi to the priest, and especially if they're new. And that moment where he's just talking to everyone and saying hi to everyone, and it's also character moments, right? We learn that Lisa, the girl that's in the wheelchair, that's the mayor's daughter, that Warren kind of has a crush on. She goes to daily Mass. She's the only one in town that is going to daily Mass, so she's very, very committed and devout. We get to learn information like that, and he's shaking people's hands, and we're learning things, and we also see freaking Bev Keane be like, oh, I met him last night, of course, in the rectory. Oh, the Monsignor just loves him. He just loves him. So, and I can see why. It's like, Bev, how do you know that the Monsignor loves? Did you talk to the? No, of course you didn't. You're right. Just, God, she sucks. Anyway, yeah. Like all that is character moments, and he's having to play it, and yeah, as you said, like he's being a little combative. Like, I really do love it. It's like a recurring joke of everyone noticing that Riley steps back because it's a very, very small community, and like I love both Aaron and the priest know that he stepped back during communion. He did not go up and receive communion. I don't know if people need us to say this. I don't know how much people know about Catholicism, but like, communion's a pretty big deal for Catholics. It's transubstantiation, right? It has literally turned into the blood and body of Christ. And so the idea is, if you are not Catholic, you are not supposed to receive communion. Other religions that do communion, they don't mind. Catholic, I mean, it's not like they're going to ID you when you walk up and like turn in your Catholic ID, right. But like it's understood, and that's why Riley's father wants him to stand back, and that's why it's a big deal that everyone notices. And yeah.
I mean, I don't remember if this is technically exactly right, but I remember learning like you really shouldn't be taking communion if you have sin weighing on you.
Correct.
Meaning if you haven't been to confession since the last time you sinned, which for me would be 10 seconds after I walk out of the confessional. So I was never sure how that was supposed to like practically work, but that's part of the reason why I never took it that seriously, and I would just take communion regardless of my sinful soul, because I figured Jesus would forgive me for doing that.
Has to, according to the bylaws. Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, like okay, to your point is that everyone notices that he's doing this because and of course the father notices this and calls it out, which is again like slightly confrontational, right? Slightly in your face. It's one of the things about Father Paul that's unorthodox is like, oh, I'm going to verbalize this thing and point it out, and we're gonna talk about it. We're not gonna have an argument. I'm not gonna attack you, but let's talk about that.
And this is supposed to be what people of faith kind of do, right? Not in a way that's combative and argumentative, but just in a way of like, hey, you having some I hate like modern Christians use the phrase like how's your walk with Christ going, and I don't know why I despise that that's saying so much. It just like it's nails on a chalkboard for me. I don't like it. But yeah, it's like I see you struggling with your faith, and like this is supposed to be a community of people that help each other with that stuff, and I as the leader, the priest of the community, am like that's my job ultimately, is to help you with that. And so like yeah, he's and I love the moment. It was like the second he says it, he can see the tension between the family in that. And he's like, ooh, that got awkward or that got quiet. Like he's just so, yeah. I mean, like these are the things that make you torn about him as a character, because the show is priming you to be suspicious of this guy. But at the same time, you do like him on some level.
That's funny, because not only does he point that out, but he points out the tension, and it's just very humanizing. And it's like, yeah, he's just not going to let these awkwardnesses stand between him and trying to help a soul in need.
Yeah.
But he seems to have this weird dark secret over here, right?
Yep.
So that's I love, again, I'm like repeating myself, but I love this. I love the way this character is introduced, where there's all these signals that make us think like, wow, this is the best priest ever. and then at the same time, that's unsettling. Like, what's going on, you know?
Yep.
I just love that contradiction, that juxtaposition.
And what is this supposed to mean about what the show's view on religion is? Because obviously, like from the jump, it made declarative statements about religion, and then we're challenging them. I mean, this is one thing. Like, it's funny. I was looking at like reviews of the show in preparation for this podcast, of like seeing what other people thought of it, refreshing my mind on what the kind of the critical reaction to this thing was. And one of the complaints I saw about the show was someone said it feels preachy at times, the show. And I was like, that's really fascinating, because we talked like a week ago about how we felt that Mike Flanagan never feels particularly didactic to us in his theming. And I don't think that's true with this show either. Like, I think what the show ultimately is, and we'll talk about this throughout the rest of the weeks, is as you said, when Mike Flanagan says this is personal to him, because he's working through the way he feels about faith, religion, these things, these ideas. He's come out the other side of it an atheist, just like Riley has. But just because you're an atheist doesn't mean you don't like think about these things. You struggle with them, especially when so many people you love are so incredibly attached to these things. His mother and father are still devout in this faith. Riley's are, and so that's a struggle for him as well, that he knows he's hurting his mother by saying things like, I'm not, that's not really me anymore. And his father makes that very clear to him in one of the most relatable moments in the world to me, is like, you're going to church because it'll make your mother happy, which is like a conversation, the exact conversation I have with my dad when I went to confirmation, and I went to my first confirmation class, and they were talking about, and I was like, I don't think I believe some of this stuff, and I don't think I can get confirmed because I don't believe this stuff. And I told my mom that, and she was just devastated. And then my dad basically just sat me down and is just like, just fucking do it. just do it. It's just, they're just words. Just do it, and it'll make your mom happy. And so like, I was like, oh my God, I feel for you here, Riley.
Yeah. 100% identify with this position. Yeah. It was, it's a rite of passage.
Yes, it is. It is. Go to church because it'll make your mom happy. I think every Catholic has gone through that at one point in their life.
Yeah, right. I mean, just to like aside, like think about that seriously. Like, if you really, really, really take your Catholic religion seriously, and your child tells you that they're not going to be Christian anymore, they're basically telling you that you're not going to see them in heaven. Yep. And that they're damned, which is incredibly sad.
Yeah.
So I understand. I just think that that's a trap.
Yeah.
that's not like a good faith. That's like a thing the religion knows that it's doing, you know? Yeah. Anyway, that's a separate thing.
I think that's a good transition to talk about Annie Flynn a little bit here, because I really want to talk to you about this character. This is Riley's mother. We kind of see her immediately. Like, she is the one that gives him the Bible. Which again, like the detail of the show is so great that the Bible she gives him is heavily creased. as if to project like this is something that has been well worn and well used. I really love that. I love the quote that she gives him, aptly from Genesis, because this is an episode titled Genesis. It's Genesis 32:21, which, by the way, is the story of Joseph of the Technicolor Dreamcloak variety.
Yes.
I don't know if you remember the story of Joseph. I had to look this up because I didn't remember the details of the story, but like,
not at all.
Basically, this story of Joseph is kind of how the Bible explains how Jewish people got wound up in Egypt. Basically, Joseph is like a prophet, and he has prophetic dreams, and he sees his kind of glory in some of his dreams. His brothers get jealous, and they sell him into slavery, as you do. People in the Old Testament are just fucking awful to each other, just the worst. So he's sold into slavery for some Egyptians. He ends up like the head slave of a man named Potiphar, I think I'm saying that right, who was like the head of Pharaoh's guard, and he ends up like basically the head of the household there because he has God's favor, so he's like good at everything. He just rules at everything. And then Potiphar's wife like really wants to fuck him, like is like constantly going, hey Joseph, let's do it. And Joseph is, he's a good Jewish man, good man of God. And he says, no, I'm not going to do that. She's like, no, like, come on, let's do it. And he's like, no. So she gets mad, and then she says he raped her. And so he gets sent to prison. And then this is the line that is taken out of the Bible that she writes in Riley's Bible is the line there: the Lord was with Joseph and showed him steadfast love and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison warden, essentially. So she's like, God is with you in prison because God was with Joseph in prison. I was like, yeah, well, Joseph was, sold into slavery by his asshole brothers and then framed for a crime he didn't commit. He didn't murder a girl drunk. So it's a little bit order of magnitude different there. But but the point I'm trying to make with this is like, one thing I love about Annie is that she is like steadfast. Like the contradiction we see here is immediate, that like she is eagerly awaiting her son's arrival. She can't wait for it. She has been to church every day praying for him. She goes and says a rosary for him at the church every single day. And she loves him and is and the immediate contradiction is Henry Thomas's character, who plays Riley's father, who plays Ed, who clearly is not on the same page in that regard, who has not forgiven his son, Annie is like representing all like the good qualities of Christendom and Catholicism, right? Like she is open, welcoming, forgiving, and Ed is cold, angry, and like I already say angry. He's pissed the fuck off at his son. He's pissed at him. He's hurt.
Yeah. And I think he still loves his son.
Yeah,
I think that one moment where he sort of does the incredibly awkward hug that turns into a handshake.
Oh my God.
It's like he's fighting himself. Like even in that scene, I love how it's performed, because it's like you can see the tension between just like anger and not wanting to show any real sign of approval, but also wanting to give seeing that his son is suffering, wanting to comfort his son, not like, and also feeling like his son deserves it at the same time. Like, and it's the horrible, like, I love the performance, just every molecule of this performance. I think we'll talk about it a lot over the course of the show, because even though it's an ensemble show, so it's a vague distinction between central characters and non-central, but he's not one of the like main ones, but I still think he's magnetic, right? I think he's just fun to watch, and your eyes like to follow him.
It's so wild witnessing this guy going from like a posh British drunk gentleman to angry fisherman in like 3 weeks time. But yeah, no, I think he's absolutely fantastic. And like that awkward, I mean, that whole scene, you're so right. Like he walks into Riley's bedroom, it's immediately awkward, and he's there to be like, hey, your mom like really like she's been going to church for you. She's been sticking up for you. You really hurt her with what you said. He doesn't come out and say it that way because he can't, but that's essentially what he's saying. And he says, I'll apologize to her. And then he tries to say something kind to his father. He says, like, Mom told me what's been happening since the spill. So that's one thing we haven't talked about yet. While Riley was in prison, there was an oil spill. They are fishermen. Everyone that lives on this island essentially is a fisherman. And not only did it become almost impossible to fish during the spill, but after the spill, due to environmental regulations, they are being heavily limited on what they can catch, where they can catch it, how much they can catch. They're being really, really like stepped on. And it's making life really, really difficult for them. It's part of the reason why this town is basically slowly dying. And he tries to reach out to his father in that moment and be like, Mom told me about this. Mom caught me up. I'm so sorry you're going through this stuff. And Ed is like he immediately pivots back to church, right? He says, when you go to church tomorrow, you should step back. That's what he he doesn't respond to it. He doesn't say thanks. He doesn't further the conversation. He just pivots back to church. He's like, what we're talking about right now is church, and what you need to do and what you don't need to do tomorrow when we go to church. It's a wonderful exploration of the character. Mm-hmm. I loved it.
Yeah. I love it too. There's so many characters. I'm just realizing, like, as we're having this discussion, like, I don't know that we're going to be able to do everyone justice in a normal length podcast, but and a lot of them are just kind of barely introduced. Maybe the last one that we really totally absolutely need to talk about is Aaron.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But I mean, I say that and I'm immediately like, okay, but what about Sheriff Hassan? So anyway, I wanted to say, like, I often use the phrase drive-by characterization to describe like rapid fire characterization of new characters. And I just thought it was funny that this episode does literal drive-by characterization while the boys are riding their bicycles around. Anyway.
Yeah, we meet Erin sitting down reading a pregnancy book before we've even done the sonogram moment with her. Yeah, no, that's really great. Also, drive-by Mike Flanagan spotting. I just want to say this now, when the boys are riding by, it's actually right when they drive by Lisa's house, the mayor's house, on the other side of the street, drinking a coffee on his front porch. Mike Flanagan sitting there drinking. There he is. It was my third watch of this episode that I saw him. I was like, hey, wait a minute, I recognize that guy. That guy back there drinking that coffee.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. No, I love that. I mean, you're right. Like, we haven't even talked about Dr. Sarah, played by Annabeth Gish, the town doctor, who I'm sure we will talk about. Her and her mother, Mildred, who is clearly suffering from multiple age-related diseases. We haven't talked much about the sheriff at all. We haven't talked much about Warren, who is a fleshed-out character in his own right. This is Riley's little brother, who is clearly also suffering from his brother's choices. I really like that line when Annie says to Warren, "Your brother's coming home tomorrow."
Your brother comes
and
home
he says,
tomorrow.
"That's great, Mom. Good and truly." I just love
That's
good.
great.
I don't know why, but good and truly.
Good and
like
truly.
that really stuck out to me, to the point where I was like Googling it to see if it's a reference to something, and I couldn't find anything. It just really sticks out to me, where he's like, he's clearly affected by what his brother did as well. And we see that, like, he refuses to drink, right? He will not touch alcohol. They go to the uppers and he smokes, does not touch alcohol.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he's our through line that connects us, I think, to the emerging mystery in the background of all of this, which I think, if you and if I had not seen this show before, I would be spending a lot more time talking about this.
I think we're hiding this because we don't know what to say about it.
Because we don't, because we know the answers, right? Yeah. So we don't know what to do. So we're not going to talk that much about it. But he takes us out into the, we cross the, I guess it's a little isthmus or whatever the word is. I don't know nautical words, and they go to they go to the little shitty area with all the cats,
the uppers, which is just totally infested by wildcats. Or I guess not anymore. But
yeah, right. And there's something there, which is one of those shots that I consistently talk about in all of these episodes of this podcast. I talk about how I love the way Mike Flanagan deals with literal physical like darkness and stuff being hidden in the darkness. And I'm always referring to this moment and a moment that happens in like 2 more episodes. But the moment with the eyes, that made me jump, and it's like, it's just perfect. It's so short. You don't really see what it is, but it triggers that animal primal reflex of like, there's something out there that looking at us that shouldn't be out there, and now it's gone, but I'm freaked out. I love that so much.
And one of the things that works so well with it is it's like Flanagan has set it up, because all throughout that scene, as they get to the place where they have the campfire and as they sit down, we are constantly seeing eyes in the background. There are cats everywhere, and we're constantly seeing cat eyes flash in and then disappear. And so we're already kind of primed to see eyes everywhere. And then suddenly we see eyes, but they're too high, right? They're like, they're not at the ground cat level. They're like 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
And you're just suddenly like, whoa, and you're as freaked out as the character is. And yeah, it's really built too perfectly. I love that moment.
There's also some, I think there's just something about the movement of the head that is like, those are human eyes on a human neck turning to look at you, right? It's the turning to look at you part that's like alarming on a visceral level. I do think I remember when I first watched this episode, I was like tense, because I was like, are they going to get attacked by something? And now watching it the second time, it's like I knew they weren't, so I was less tense, so I was more able to pay attention. But yeah, just a comment. Yeah.
But Mike Flanagan clearly hates cats. I mean, between The Haunting of Hill House and those poor little kitties, and murdering every single cat in the uppers in the first episode of Midnight Mass. Yeah. Notice there was a dog left outside all night. Dog's fine.
Dog's fine.
Cats dead.
Yeah. Of course, I think there's some contradictory evidence in Absentia, where some dogs did not do okay in that movie.
Yeah, well, as a young man, Mike hated dogs, and then he came around on the dogs and switched his hatred towards the cats.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Gotcha. That's all. Just for the record, I made that up, so no one accuses me. Let's switch back to talking about Aaron, though, because I think we started talking about Aaron and then got distracted by the 700 other characters. But I believe Kate Siegel's Aaron Green is top billing. Okay, we say top billing in that we know like actually how much money all the actors made. Obviously, we don't. What I mean by top billing is when we hit the credits and it goes written by Mike Flanagan, directed by Mike Flanagan, edited by Mike Flanagan. The first actor's name that pops up is Kate Siegel's. And then it's Riley's actor, Zach Gilford. Did you ever watch Friday Night Lights, by the way? Okay,
no.
So you have no connection to Zach Gilford whatsoever. Okay, that's fine. He's second, but Kate Siegel's Aaron Green is first. So yeah, we have to talk about her. She's the prodigal daughter returning, right? She is is the one that ran away before Riley. She was the godless heathen, and she offers us this contradiction to Riley in someone who has returned to this town and is religious, has faith, goes to church every Sunday. Her mom died. She took her mom's house. She took her mom's job. She's the teacher, and she's also pregnant, which is her kind of mysterious, like, she says she is married, but it's over, and she's pregnant. And she's here.
Yeah. And she's this like warm, loving, forgiving presence toward Riley, and there's clearly this tension between them, which I think is the setup of the episode is we see all this subtext of like just like eye contact of like, oh, they're back, or what, how are they going to react, and how, and like a little subtle reaction, I think, when Riley learns that she's pregnant, and just there's so much subtlety. I think so. One moment that I just wanted to call out, because I immediately just thought of this as like this is a moment for me of just like a shorthand I'm going to use And it's the moment when they're walking back from church, which is kind of their first moment they've had alone together. And, they're kind of feeling each other out. And he says, yeah, I guess that you would have gone to New York because of the covered bridges. And Kate Siegel does this fantastic little, hidden smile of delight that she kind of casts off to the side so he kind of can't see it. And then she gets control of herself and comes back. But she can't quite fully hide it. That she's delighted that he remembered this. And you learn so much in this moment, right? From a writing and an acting perspective, it's you learn he has paid so much attention to her and thinks about her so much that he remembers some offhand remarks she made about covered bridges probably 10 years ago, and connected that to her going to New York City and correctly guessed where she would go, which no one else could. And this is incredibly flattering and delightful to her, but she can't let him see that because that's just too much too fast, right? And it's setting the framework for them continuing to talk to each other, because you see this latent feeling for each other. In my mind, I was just bam, I'm gonna refer to this from now on as a covered bridges moment, where a character evinces knowledge that indicates oh, you think about me a lot. Actually, that's I love that so much.
That's great. Yeah, covered bridges. I agree. That stuck out to me so much, because it I love that the show doesn't explain any more than that. It was
yeah.
I guessed you were up in upstate New York. Why'd you guess that? Covered bridges. And then, she gives that smirk, and then we move on. It's perfect. And that scene, Matt, so they get back to Aaron's house. She asks him how he's doing, and he gives the, hanging in. And then she goes, no, how are you? No bullshit. Talk to me. And I love that entire scene. So this is a long monologue from Riley, which, by the way, I think we've talked about Flanagan monologues a lot over the past year. I think this is the show that there's a lot of monologues in this. Some people don't like that, right? Some of the critiques I've seen of the show is that it's too monologue heavy. I love monologues. We've talked about how much I love monologues, so I'm here for it. Some of my favorite monologues in Flanagan shows and in television period occur in this show. So I love it. We get this monologue here, and it is all about how Riley feels lost. We kind of already talked about some of the stuff that when he was in prison, everything was regimented. He had things to think about, things to do, and now he's out and he's lost and he doesn't know what to do, and he has no purpose, and he feels like he should be dead, and he's just completely discombobulated. And the way Flanagan shoots this scene, what I want to ask you is if you noticed some of this stuff, because there's one thing he does that I found just incredibly fascinating. So, okay, so the basic setup of the scene is she's sitting on her doorstep and he is talking to her. And there's a few shots in this. There's a wide with the two of them standing on opposite sides of the frame. And then we go into one-on-ones where she's in her own shot by herself and he's in his own shot by himself. But one thing we do is, as he's talking to her, Riley is constantly looking away from her. He doesn't want to make eye contact her when he says stuff, and he looks off to the left. And every time he looks off to the left, Flanagan will cut from a shot of Riley to a different angle shot of Riley when he moves off to the left. And it's really fascinating because not only will he cut between Riley and Aaron, but he will cut between the two Riley shots. He will cut between him looking at her and talking to him looking over here and talking. And he shoots he shot and of course in filmmaking, they had to run through the scene every time you have a new setup and you shoot from a new angle. Right. So it's just it's really interesting that it's the camera doesn't move that far, but he shoots it from a new angle every time Riley turns because he can't look her in the eye. We shoot to a different angle of him. And what it does is it technically breaks the 180 degree rule, because when he's talking to Aaron, he's on the right side of the frame. And when we cut to the shot of him looking off over his left shoulder, he's closer to the middle and sometimes just on the left side of the frame. So it's technically breaking that rule, but every one of those shots is predicated by his movement. The cut follows his head turn. And it's just like, it really stuck out to me. It really, like, I was like, this is such an interesting way. This is the one that I brought up in front of my wife and was like, look at this. And she was like, I don't know. What do you want me to say?
Yeah. Interesting. No, so I did not. It does make me realize, like, there's generally some interesting, decision made when it comes to these monologues surrounding, like, how are we going to shoot this? We're not going to just, like, I can't think of many examples. Well, I can't think of any examples where he just, like, locks off the camera and we do the monologue.
Yeah.
Right?
No.
Can't think of any examples.
Normally he'll do, like, the slow push in. We've talked about that, right?
Yeah. The slow push in is the typical one, but not always. I'm pretty, like, I almost want to, like, now actually just go through every single monologue and all the shows we've watched and be like, what was the camera doing here? Because very often it's not just doing a slow push in, right? Anyway, I did not notice what you're pointing out. That's very interesting. I like this. And I think it communicates something too, right? Like it communicates the scattered and almost like internally conflicted nature of Riley's train of thought. I would say.
I think so. Yeah. Like that he not only does it call attention to the fact that he can't look her in the eye and is therefore looking off in the distance every time, but I think you're right. The fact that we're cutting between these two angles constantly feels a little lost. It feels a little scattered. I think it feels it feels, especially in contrast to her, who throughout the entire scene, she is like a rock. Like, she is standing there. That we basically have one shot. I think we technically have two different shots on her, because there's one that's an over the shoulder of him, and there's another where she's just center frame without him in it at all. But, like, she doesn't move at all. Like, throughout that entire monologue, we cut back to her a few times to see her reactions to the thing he's saying, but she is still, she is solid, and it is basically one shot, one angle of her, whereas he is constantly cutting back and forth between these two different angles. And it makes this feeling, this energy to it, this kinetic, like, frantic, almost manic, like, I don't know what to do, I'm lost, I'm not at peace, I'm a total mess. I'm a total mess. It communicates that in a way that I found just really, really cool.
Yeah. I know that the Virgin Mary is almost always portrayed as having her head covered, so it's not like a one-to-one, but I feel like there's something very Mary-esque about the way that she's standing. Like, maybe it has to do with how she's holding her hands, or maybe it's even just her, like, it's just kind of a beatific, loving, forgiving expression. I was trying to make a connection between, like, Virgin Mary and the fact that she's pregnant, and it didn't. But yeah, it doesn't have to be, again, it doesn't have to be like they dressed her up like the Virgin Mary. It's just kind of the idea of the mother archetype, you could say.
Yeah.
Just relating to what you said about, like, her being like a rock. Like, yeah, she's this presence, this, like, radiating love and forgiveness, and he's sitting and he's, like, writhing in agony in front of her, and it's kind of a great contrast, actually.
Yeah, it's really interesting too, because, like, the way the scene ends is she just says, I'm sorry, right? Like, she says, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry that happened. I'm sorry for everything that's happened to you. And then she just kind of turns around and walks off. Like, there's no, like, hug. There's no any kind of physical contact at all between the two of them. She just says, I'm sorry for that. And walks off. I think that's really fascinating too.
Yeah.
And she means it too. It's not like she's placating him and is like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, well, I think that's the thing, is she doesn't, smother him with reassurance. It's just like, yeah, it sucks. Yeah. It's horrible. I give you my heartfelt expression of sadness, and then I'm going to go now because I have nothing else to say on this topic. That it made sense to me.
Yeah. And then we cut from that moment to him looking up at the storm that's brewing, which is also perfect, because, Matt, there's a storm brewing. I don't know if you knew that. There's a storm brewing.
There's a metaphorical and literal storm brewing. I love this storm. Such a cool storm. I literally can't think of a better storm put to film, including films like The Perfect Storm. Like the fierceness of the wind, the sound of the thunder just sounds so angry and aggressive and biblical, you might say.
And the dramatic nature with which we're cutting from character to character as it goes. Like I think we start with Father Paul sitting in his room, just reading his Bible, as you do. With the chest open next to him. The chest got some dirt in it, Matt, and there's some dirt all over the floor. Hasn't bothered to pick any of that up, but he's just reading his Bible, and then the power cuts out, and then we start cutting from there. By the way, in that shot, I just happen to notice because I have it up right now. In that shot, when the power comes out, the Pope is kind of like glowing behind him because he's wearing all white, and there's like the Pope is just over his left shoulder, just like there. I don't think there's any intentionality behind that, but it's just funny. But then we like cut aggressively from him to Dr. Sarah and her mother, because her mother is having a freak out in the middle of the storm. And then we cut so abruptly from that to just Riley in his room, just like standing up at the window, like watching the storm.
Yeah.
And then that's what leads us into him thinking he sees Monsignor Pruitt outside, because in a moment that was like beautifully set up earlier in the episode that we didn't even notice we were being set up on, where it's Warren that says like, I see him wandering out. I've been told he's wandering out at night in that very recognizable hat and coat he wears, that extremely recognizable hat and coat he wears. And sometimes he just wanders out at night, and like, I think Annie says to her son is like, have you ever seen it? So like, we've been primed for that, and Riley has been primed for that, and so when he sees a figure in a very, very recognizable hat and coat standing out in the rain, it's the Monsignor, who's not supposed to be here. He's supposed to be on the mainland.
Yes, what a mystery. What is he doing here?
This is fun. This is really fun.
Yeah.
We get to be on the same page for the first time ever. It's great.
First time ever, yeah. Awesome. I love this episode.
Me too.
I'm considering showing this to my oldest child, actually, which is a separate conversation. But I'm like, seems like a good starting point.
I think so. She could take it.
I think so.
It's not like, I mean, my wife, who does not like horror stuff at all, like watched the show with me when it first came out, and then like specifically said to me, "I want to watch this with you again when you are doing this for your podcast." I was like, okay,
cool.
Let's go. So yeah.
Well, she likes Squid Game. There's nothing worse in this than there's in Squid Game.
Does she like season 3 of Squid Game?
I think she found it disappointing.
Yeah. So did the world. Yeah.
I haven't watched it. She watched it. So anyway,
not good. What else do you want to say about this episode? I feel like there's so much more, but I think maybe we can move to spoilers pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I think I hit all my bullet points actually somehow, even though I didn't think we were going to. Yeah.
I guess what I will say is one of the details I really like is the music.
Yeah.
So we have a few things. So we have 2 Neil Diamond songs. The first one is "And the Grass Won't Pay No Mind," which plays during the opening of the thing, which is just to have like easy listening music playing over this horrific car crash scene.
Yeah.
I think is just perfect. I just love it.
Yeah. I noticed that. I mean, that jumps out to me. And I actually wrote this down because the first words of the song are, "Listen easy, you can hear God calling." And it's in a scene where God is conspicuously absent. I just thought that was once I noticed that, had to mention that.
And then Henry Thomas's character Ed puts on a record when he's avoiding talking to his son on the phone, and it is a Neil Diamond record, and is the song Suleiman, which is the song that plays over Warren and his friends riding through Crockett Island. So just 2 really great. I mean, I like Neil Diamond. I can't think about Neil Diamond without thinking of that Saving Silverman movie in which Jason Biggs and Jack Black were obsessed with Neil Diamond. But I think they're great songs. And like, so one thing we've never really talked about on the show is I think the Newton brothers have been the composers of Mike Flanagan's stuff from like the beginning. They definitely did Hill House and Bly Manor, and they're doing all the music here, obviously beside the Neil Diamond songs. And a lot of what the show is doing is it's taking church sounding music. I mean, in some cases, it's literally taking hymns and they're just like reshooting the hymns, like the Abide With Me. That moment of the episode, Matt, was I'm in love with it. Like just the way they like did the hymn music over the different shots of the town as they cut through it. Like, I'm so in love with all of that. I just like, first of all, it sounds really cool. But it's just so impactful. And that continues throughout the rest of the show, is that there's constant hymnal type music being done. Both just literally with words, and then also just like a lot of the background score stuff, like has a very distinct feel to it that I really got a kick out of.
Yeah. I love all that too. I agree. That's good stuff.
Some more details I noticed. I'll tell you. The book that Ed Flynn is reading when his wife is talking to his son on the phone is Revival by Stephen King, which is pretty funny.
Love it.
I think that's a fun choice for a couple reasons. One of which I think, don't quote me on this, but I think when he shot this show, he thought he was going to get to make the Revival movie. He had written an adaptation of Revival, and I think he successfully had sold it. It didn't end up happening, but I think he was pretty convinced it was going to happen. So it's him both being funny in having Ed Flynn read a Stephen King story about a preacher, and it's like, I know you haven't read that one, but there's a lot in there. But also as like a fun Easter egg to, this is going to be my next project. Of course, that didn't work out. But did you notice the voice of the judge that sentenced him to 4 years?
I did not. Tell me who was that?
Scarlett Gugino. How did you not notice that?
I'm sorry. She wasn't doing a northern, southern, western, eastern England accent.
It is the sentence of this court that you be incarcerated for a period of 4 to 10 years in the custody of the Illinois Department of Corrections.
I think that was all my fun details things. I'm trying to look through my notes here. Oh no, okay. Riley has a Scully from X-Files poster in his room, which makes him like one of the coolest people of all time.
Yeah. I mean, everyone... here's a question. What era is this show take place in? Because it feels kind of like timeless, and it also kind of feels... I mean, they have cell phones, though.
That's a good question. They do have cell phones. But also, Annie Flynn is talking to Riley on a corded phone, home phone. I mean, I think it's safe to say that the island probably doesn't get great cell phone service and probably doesn't have the internet.
I feel like it's probably meant to be like, it's modern day, but as far as these people are concerned, it's like the 70s in terms of the technology, because they're just not keeping up. That's the nature of the town.
Yeah, and yet we do see that Ali, Sheriff Hassan's son, is texting, right? We have that scene where he chastises him about texting. So yeah, I mean, I think it is supposed to be contemporary. So in 2021 when it came out, but that's a good point. I mean, like, we haven't talked about the fact, like, why set it on an island, right? Like, why, like, we wanted to build the small town atmosphere, but we also built like a small town atmosphere on an island, and that has a very distinct feel to it in ways that I think will pay off really well as we go through the show. But of course, one of them is that it does solve, for the most part, the cell phone problem, which every story that exists from now until the end of time has to solve the cell phone problem in one way or another. And this is kind of how Mike Flanagan solved it here.
Yep.
I really like Joe Colley, the town drunk. We haven't had much to do with him, but we get to see the way he interacts with Sheriff Hassan.
Yeah, I love that actor.
Robert Longstreet. Yep. We didn't talk much about Hassan because we don't know much about him yet. Here's what I want to say. I am a straight man.
That is all.
The end. No. Damn.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Well,
Raul Coley goes from a British goofy chef to a Muslim American sheriff in this show, and dude looks good. Dude looks real good.
Yeah. I think
it's a glow up, as the kids say.
There is a glow up happening, but also I think it's literally just the character. Like that's what I love about it. Is he's just when he's the cook, he's being a very soft person. He's being a very warm, soft, loving, quiet, but funny, charming person. And this is like a totally different guy.
Yeah.
This guy is he's not cruel, but he's hard. He's been hardened by the world.
Yeah.
He's a gunslinger, is what he is. He is an almost straight up gunslinger. Like that's what he. So that character allows him to be hotter.
Yeah. No, he's doing a great job with it. I agree. Still a bit of a mystery to us, Sheriff Hassan. I mean, we see that his wife, Ellie's mother, is presumably dead, right? Like that moment of kiss your mother when he picks up the picture and kisses that. So we have that moment. We are going to get to learn more about Sheriff Hassan, but I really like this character. I like, we talked about how all the characters are set up. Really, the first thing we see Sheriff Hassan doing is feeding the dog. We don't. At that point, maybe we assume it's his dog, and we learn later it's not his dog. But he's being kind to this dog that the town drunk has left on his own, and he's worried about his master, who's been locked in the drunk tank all night because an albatross was chasing him, which won't pay off in any kind of way. I assure you,
that's irrelevant. Yeah.
But it's a really great way of like we really like him, and then we see the way in which the town ostracizes him and treats him different in the kindest Christian way, of course. And it really endears you to him. And also he looks damn hot.
He does.
Yeah. I miss the British accent though. He's doing a good American accent, but I miss his British accent.
Yeah, this is the first thing I saw him in, so I had to be told that in fact he is British, and his British accent is just his way of talking.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Anything else?
Just a couple spoiler comments.
Okay. We will. So how do we want to do this? Do we want to do spoilers? Because it's going to be really weird if we like do spoilers and then move to discussion question. If the people that don't want to be spoilered want to listen to discussion question stuff.
I mean, I feel like we could have a time stamp. I don't know. I don't know if there's a super elegant way to do it. I mean, yeah, okay. Well, there's no discussion question this week's for one thing, so we don't actually have to make this decision yet.
Okay. So, if you don't want to be spoiled, don't listen from this point on.
Yeah.
I think we'll probably just have to do timestamp stuff, but we can figure it out.
We'll tell people now. Maybe we should just say the discussion question since it's easy now.
Oh.
We'll just say what the question is.
Sure. Let's do it.
Okay. The discussion question for next week is, who is your favorite prodigal son?
Or presumably in like storytelling, right? Not like in real life, because
yeah, your son.
It's my son. Yeah. I mean, we have a lot of talk about prodigal sons and prodigal daughters in this week's episode, so I thought it'd be fun to just talk about that concept and how other creators employ it.
Awesome. All right. Spoilers.
Let's do it. We'll do the spoilers Eucharist bells. Let's see if we can get some sound effects of those.
Transubstantiate the podcast into a spoilers podcast.
Yeah. All right. We've given sufficient warning, Matt. What do you want to talk about?
Well, so many things that we could talk about, but the thing that jumped out to me that recontextualized how I saw things is how Father Paul is treating Bev. When you know that he knows her and has known her for a long time and is super, super annoyed with her. And
hates her,
you can read between the lines all these opinions that he must have built up of her over the years. And he's kind of still figuring out like how he's going to deal with her maybe. But it's like he has been mentally out of it for all this time, and now he's getting a second chance. Maybe he's even getting like a fresh eye on her in a sense. Like he hasn't even really, because he hasn't been with it. I don't know. I'm kind of airing some thoughts here because I've obviously never thought about this before because it's only revealed to you later, right? But like the way he treats her, and kind of in micro, the way he treats everyone. It's like, oh, you recontextualize it, you realize like, oh, he knows this person.
Yeah.
He's carrying with him this knowledge of his relationship with them, and he's choosing his approach very carefully, actually.
He's using it to like endear himself to these people immediately. Like I love the part was like, Lisa Scarborough, and he's like, oh, you know who I am? Oh yeah, the Monsignor talked about you all the time. And it's like, nope, I just know you, and it like endears her to him immediately. And like obviously he's doing this. Like the other thing we haven't talked about is like one of the reasons he notices Riley steps back from communion is because he's giving them vampire blood in the wine already right now, and he's clocking very specifically and intentionally who is drinking the blood and who is not, right? And so he is paying attention to that stuff. That's also, by the way, I think we hinted towards this, but he's wearing the gold robes on purpose. He's wearing the gold robes because this is a special ceremony. This is the start of something new in his mind. He's doing this on purpose. And I think you're right that when Bev clocks it, he's kind of like, this bitch. Like, this is going to be a problem, right? Like obviously he sees value in Bev and is going to use Bev to accomplish his goals, and we'll see that she ultimately like just goes along with everything, and there's a lot of point to be made there. But like this is early in the point where he can't reveal anything yet, and like the line of like, I didn't think anyone would notice is like, it's bad to my plans that you're noticing things. And this is going to complicate things, actually.
Yeah, and you can see the calculation and read more into the calculation happening on his face in certain places where you know what he's thinking. Instead of him just being like, "Oh, he's mysterious. What's up with him?" You're like, "Okay, he's trying to figure like, how am I going to play this in a way where where I basically accomplish what I want to accomplish, which in his mind is this like holy quest, where he's saving his flock." And it's almost like it's really quite an interesting, theologically interesting thing that he thinks is happening. It's like I've been chosen by God as this not just messenger, but like person who is going to bring this angel to you and save you all. And it's like the clearly the resurrection is nigh, and it's just like. It's such a cool idea for a character, I guess, like a priest who thinks that that's what they're doing, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that like doesn't have like ulterior motives. That just like, I mean, this is what the show is ultimately demonstrating about like the danger of this kind of stuff, the danger of this kind of belief and like full-throated acceptance, and like that the things that happen to me and the things that happen are God's plan and messages from God's, is that like. This man does seem like he's just a good priest. That these things have demonstrated themselves in a way that he goes, oh yeah, this must be like that you like the great irony of the show. And I've seen this covered, and I'm sure we'll talk about it in the non-spoiler section we get to it. But like people go like, how did a guy look at that vampire and see an angel? And it's like, because that's what he wanted to see. Right? Like that because like that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing we're saying with the power of belief and the power of faith, and the show is, I think, ultimately showing the good sides of that thing and the way that thing can help people, and it shows the bad, destructive, horrible parts of that thing where it can cause people to make decisions that are not rational, that are awful and terrible and cruel, and we're going to get to see it all in the next 6 weeks.
Yeah. That was great. Let's see, a couple other spoilery things, I guess. Like, I think I'm 90% sure that the first we had read Salem's Lot, so when we had him with the chest and the knocking on the chest, I think I was like, I think there's a vampire in there.
That's great, because I did want to ask you the question of like, when did you realize this was a vampire show?
Yeah, I don't remember if I knew for a fact that it was a vampire show, but I think with the chest, I was just like, it's probably a vampire. And then I think even chasing, when he's chasing the guy at the end, I think I was like, that seems like kind of a gaunt skeletal creature.
It certainly does.
And then we have this, you know, the characters talking about a flying thing chasing them. I was like, okay. Yeah.
I wish I could remember what I thought, because I don't know how I didn't hear the knocking and like immediately, but I very distinctly remember going, oh, it's a vampire show. And I don't remember what episode that was, but it wasn't this one for sure. Gosh, it might have even been literally when like Riley bursts into flames in episode 4. I don't think it was, but it could have been. But yeah, I mean, like I like, especially on this rewatch of like, not only does he knock back on the chest, but then we see the chest open in that one scene and there's dirt everywhere, and it's like, oh, so the chest had something in a bunch of dirt. Okay. Yeah. And then even like when it grabs one of the cats, when we see it grab one of the cats, like you hear blood sucking sounds. Like you can very clearly hear it sucking the blood of the cat.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, at this point, I know it's like maybe this wasn't as much of a trope then. I don't know actually, but like the idea of the like lucid eyes is like that's what we do with vampires.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
It's vampire.
Yeah. I just, I really wish I could remember what I thought after this episode. I mean, I think I just went monster and wasn't like thinking specifically vampire. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I was just like there's so much religious stuff that maybe I was like, oh, like some demon, right? Like I was not thinking vampire specifically. I was just like, oh, like a demon or something.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, right. Again, I mean, even the show itself leaves that open as a kind of ambiguity where it's like, it's clearly not the kind of vampire. It's not Dracula. He has giant wings. He can't transform into a normal looking dude who speaks. Yeah. He looks like a gargoyle. He looks like a demon. But it is like a communicable vampirism. Yeah. So it's kind of a gray area.
Yeah.
I would say.
I didn't bring this up in the main show because I feel like that would be spoilery. But I do have to say, like, if I have one critique of this show, I think some of the old ageification of some of the characters doesn't really work for me. Like, for example, Dr. Sarah Gunning's mother, Mildred Gunning, is played by Alex Esso, who played Flora and Miles' mother in Bly Manor, who played Wendy Torrance in Dr. Sleep. Like, she's not an old woman, and I think they did a decent job on the makeup, but I can just look at that person and tell that person's not an old woman. And I do very distinctly remember watching the first episode of the show and going, oh, we're going to do like a de-aging thing at some point. Because she's not that old, clearly.
I think so. I am not contradicting you, but I think also, like, you already knew who Henry Thomas was.
Yes.
And you knew that he's not an old man. So that also cued you. Whereas for me, so this is a spoiler laden compliment to Henry Thomas, is that when I first saw the show, I was just like, that's an old man. Because I think he's playing old man just perfectly fine. Like he the way he moves is like this kind of like slow, cautious, you know, when he like bends down to get something, I noticed that he's like, his legs are just like doing that thing that old you know, stiff people do. And then when it came to the super old, I forget the character's name, the mom, Mildred. I think my take was just like, anytime you have somebody playing like incredibly old to the point of being decrepit, you can't usually find an actor who's like 90 because they're not acting anymore. Sure. So I was just like, that's probably all that's happening there, is they just had to use makeup because that's what you have to do.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair, and certainly like it didn't take me out of the show, because I still really love the show. But yeah, I remember having that memory. I think it is funny that like Kristen Lehman who plays Annie Flynn is like 10 years older than Zach Gilford, who plays her son. But again, it's because she's the oldest she's going to look in the show right now, right? She's going to look younger by the end of the show. Yeah. I think I agree with you though. I think she and Henry Thomas do a pretty good job. Those characters both feel older. Ed Flynn feels very old and sea-worn. His life has been hard and difficult. I haven't rewatched the show in its entirety yet, so some of the stuff I'm just going off of memory. But isn't there a beat about? So we get to see the $140,000 that Riley owes the family of the woman he killed. Is there, like, the family has to take on some of that financial burden. Am I remembering that correctly? And maybe he doesn't know about it. I feel like I'm remembering that, but I'm not sure.
I don't recall that at all. I mean, so that was the thing that stuck out to me on this episode viewing is they mentioned the money, and I was thinking, like, I don't remember money being very relevant, but maybe so. Maybe I just spaced on it.
I mean, he said he got into finance in a startup and made a lot of money. So, and then he said the money was gone. So maybe it's literally just like every cent he earned, he had to spend on this family. But I thought I remember something about how he was not fully aware of how much how financially bad they were, and part of that is his fault.
Yeah, possibly. I don't really.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah,
I don't think I have anything else spoilery. I love where this thing's going. Like, I love seeing the way the characters interact with each other, knowing where we're going with all of them.
Me too. Yep, I'm psyched. Yeah, I guess end of spoiler section.
I hated those bells, man.
Really?
I like
your magic.
The specificity of all of it, though, like the bells, and then like just the way the blood of Christ cup. Like, I don't. I was not like an altar boy or whatever, but they let certain people like do the blood of Christ, and I was one of those people at one point. I got to like hold the cup up for people, and I just like the specificity of you give them the drink and then you wipe and turn the cup, you wipe and turn, and that's how, like, that is like, this is like, only people that are very versed in the beat to beat, the minutia of Catholicism could have made this show, and I just love the specificity of it all.
Yeah. Well, it's to the point where if the wipe and turn hadn't been there, I would have been like, fake, like it's like, and because you have to have that specificity for anyone who's actually Catholic watching the show, right?
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean. It's this, all those details, and, even like the way he says everything as the priest character is like, that's the priest intonation,
Yeah, Hamish Linklater, man, he's just such a good job in this show. He really does. Yeah. I can't wait to see him in more Flanagan stuff. We haven't gotten anything else with him and Flanagan since the show, and I'm looking forward to future stuff. I hope it happens.
Yeah, me too.
All right, folks, that was the spoiler section. We will probably continue to do those throughout the course of the show. I think it's fun. It's fun to do that.
Yeah.
But that's going to be it for us this week. Next week, we will continue with Book 2 of Midnight Mass, titled Psalms. Ooh, Matt, I gotta pop open my Bible and read some Psalms.
Okay. I did enjoy your Scott's Bible story hour about the Joseph story. I hope every episode you're able to like tell us a Bible story.
I mean, if the show takes the time to like give us a specific like chapter and verse of the Bible, like, why not, right? I think it adds specificity and maybe some more meaning to it. So yeah, unless people hate it, and let me just say here, like, I am not a biblical scholar, right? My interpretations of what the stories are saying is not the interpretation. Here's the most I've done. I've read this thing. I've read the Bible. I have read it one time. I had a brief moment where I was like, I'm just going to read all of Genesis before we record the episode on Genesis. And I got like halfway through Genesis and I was like, this kind of sucks. Genesis, like, there's a lot of interesting things in the Bible. There are. Mm-hmm. Genesis is not my favorite. It's really dry. There's like pages and pages of like, and this person had this son and lived till 900 years, and then they had all these people, and those people had this people and lived to it's just there's a lot of that in Genesis. It's not great.
Yeah. I feel like you don't have to read that though.
The creation story reads like if my toddler kept asking me questions about the world, and I just said, God did it. Shut up.
Yeah.
It does kind of, it really reads like, and then he made all the stuff. I mean, like, it's literally like, I mean, that the creation story is human beings were looking at the world and being like, why does that do that? And that's the answer. Why is there night? because
He made it that way.
it was good. He did it, and it was good.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's, I don't know. It's historically interesting because monotheism used to be pretty rare as far as like of the religions that existed. And if my historical religion knowledge is correct, there was a time when it was like the Jewish God was like one of the gods, and that was kind of how they saw it. And then eventually it shifted into being like, no, there's one God. There's one God. All your other gods are fake, actually. Sorry. And that was rather shocking at the time, because it's like, you can't say that. You can't say my God is fake, you know. But now it's actually like kind of the norm, because monotheistic religions are pretty dominant at this point.
Yeah.
I just think it's just kind of interesting how that played out over time.
It's still very difficult for me to square the idea that the God in the Old Testament is the same guy in the New Testament, because there's moments even in Genesis, like the Tower of Babel. I got this far in my reading. The Tower of Babel is a really interesting story, because God is like, hey, look, all these people are like united and like together, and like, I think literally, so here, okay, the people are united and they all speak the same language. After this, nothing they set out to do will be impossible for them. Come, let's go down and confuse the people with different languages. Then they won't be able to understand each other. Hey, God? What the fuck? They're all getting along and they can all understand each other. Got to put an end to that. I mean, the real reason was because they were being shitty, but that's just us. Yeah.
Right. There's so much scholarship has gone into like convoluted justifications for these things too, because it's like, well, you know, because then some people will be like, well, maybe God like learned over the years, like he matured.
No.
And then others will be like, no, he's omnipotent and all-knowing and all-powerful. He can't have ever changed. He was always this way. And it's like, well, it's part of the cultivating humankind in a complicated way. Who are you to ask questions? Shut up.
Yeah. I hope we're not pissing off any religious people. I legitimately don't mean to. I just find this whole thing fascinating. Like, I always found the idea of God resting on the seventh day interesting, because I was like, what did it tire you? All-knowing, omnipotent, all-powerful? You got sleepy?
It probably did. Well, I mean, it's going to be really awkward when it turns out that the Catholic God is actually real, and
it's gonna be.
Then we're gonna have egg on our face.
Well, guess what, Matt? I am baptized. I have taken the Eucharist. I have confirmed myself. I am sitting pretty, my man.
Yeah, it's true.
We're good. We done it. We checked the boxes.
Wow. What a loophole.
In the moments before my death, I am just going to simply say I accept Jesus Christ as my personal savior, and I am set.
And St. Peter is going to play that recording, what you just said.
He listens to my podcast. Oh, my God.
Of course he does. He listens to every podcast.
Okay, let's do to be done with the heresy for the week. Can we do that?
Okay, for now.
Yeah. So, next week, Book 2 of Midnight Mass, Psalms. I can't wait, Matt. I can't wait.
Yep, me too. Awesome. Remember, you can reach us via email at flanagan'swakepod@gmail.com, over on X at flanagan'swake19, on the subreddit at reddit.com/r/doofmedia, and all kinds of other places on the socials, wherever you want to follow us. Don't forget, you can watch every episode on YouTube and Spotify. And if you're watching on those places, please leave a comment letting us know what you think.
And if you would like some Flanagan's Wake merchandise, you can do that over at doofmedia.myshopify.com. We have this mug right here, which says Crockett Island Cat Cafe. And see, it's funny because they're all dead. Because the cats, see, the cat's dead.
The cats are dead.
Because
Poor cats.
They didn't do anything wrong, except for, bee cats.
Yep, and shit everywhere. And if you like any of our shows and you want to support them, then please consider donating to our Patreon account at patreon.com/doofmedia. The new year is starting, and Scott and I are going to kind of get back onto a regular schedule. We've had all sorts of stuff going on this last quarter.
Yeah.
But things are going to get back on track.
Absolutely. We also have to do the State of the Doofian.
State of the Doofian. And there's also, a huge backlog of bonus content over there. Just really quite vast.
Yeah.
So go check it out.
But if you cannot afford to join us on Patreon, that is absolutely okay. You can help us out by sharing the podcast. We're about to just offend a whole bunch of people with our coverage of Midnight Mass, so why not share that with as many of them as possible? And you can also help us out by leaving us ratings and reviews. We got a new review, Matt. We have a 5-star review from Crowcroft, who says, for fans of Flanagan, Stephen King, and then it says and it cuts off there, so I don't know what else, but presumably just of life. Probably not fans of the Bible, I would say. Mm-hmm. As a huge Mike Flanagan fan, I might be biased when saying this is a great podcast. The hosts are easy to listen to and know what they're talking about. Insightful in art, film production, and Stephen King adaptations. They show the true sign of intelligence. When they don't know something, they're not afraid to admit it. And sometimes they get the answers from Mike Flanagan himself. I even found their least listened to episodes on Henry James stories, The Haunting of Bly Manor, is based on so entertaining, so good I had to get more and branch out to their other podcasts. Well, thank you, Crow. Thank you so much. And
thank you for listening to our Henry James episodes.
Yeah, thanks for being one of the 5 people that did that. Thank you, and that's a good note to end the episode on, Matt, because one thing I don't know is the complex morass of religion and theology and all that stuff. I know only what I've experienced, right? And so that's a good note to leave this thing on, is everything is just my personal experience. I am not an expert on that whatsoever. I think I know a lot more about television than I do about God. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think we're like median educated Catholics is what we are, but we're not religious experts.
Yeah, I mean, I read the book once, Matt. I like the whole book. I read it.
That's more than I did.
It was a while ago. It's really long.
I know.
It's a big book. All right, folks, we'll see you back here next week. Until then, we'll see you at the gates of St. Peter, Mr. Flanagan.